गुरु साक्षात् परम ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. March 3rd, Shukravara. Yes, today is Friday. So we have discussed the 57th 3 points about Adhyasa, 3 adjectives of Adhyasa. We have discussed elaborately. One is evamayam anadihi anantaha naisargiko adhyasaha mithya pratyaya rupaha. One is anadirananta. There again 2 things we discussed, anadi and ananta. Then naisargika, anadi is 1, ananta is 2nd, naisargika is the 3rd, mithya pratyaya rupa is 4. All these 4 we have discussed. Okay. Mithya pratyaya rupa, when did we discuss? Mithya pratyaya rupaha. Ashte. This we have discussed. Now in the 58th point, 57th we have finished in the last class. We are coming to the 58th point in Sugama, in this book Sugama. Anyway, we are coming to an end. We will finish very shortly. Mula Vidya, I mean the Sugama. Atra kechit. Here, some people explain these 3 adjectives. Swamiji is taking these 4 adjectives as 3. Anadirananta is 1 adjective. Naisargika is 2nd. And Mithya Pratyaya Rupa is the 3rd one. These 3 adjectives of Adhyasa, some Vyakhyanakaras interpreted differently according to their concept of Mula Vidya, their hypothesis of Mula Vidya, they have interpreted. Okay. So, he is giving 2 commentaries. Swamiji has not stated the name. That traditionally, we are not supposed to take the name of those commentators. Just you mention their concept and discuss and refute instead of taking their name. But I have traced who these are. I have traced two interpretations. Swamiji is referring to them and refuting. One is of Anandagiri, another is of Ratnaprabha. Ratnaprabha is the name of the commentary. Anandagiri is a commentator. Anandagiri's commentary is called Nyaya Nirnaya. Ratnaprabha's commentary, Ratnaprabha is the name of a commentary, and its writer is, Ratnaprabha writer is not well known. Anandagiri is more popular. The name is popular. Ratnaprabha commentary is popular, but his name is not popular. Govindananda. Ratnaprabha's writer is Govindananda. So like these 2 commentaries interpret these 3 words, 3 adjectives of Adhyasa differently. He is giving, let us see how they try to interpret. And it is easy to understand. Their interpretation is in keeping with their Mula Vidya. Okay, that we shall see how they interpreted, and at the end of these 2 interpretations, Swamiji shows how they are wrong, how they are not true to Bhashya. This is what he has to reply. Okay, now, atra kechit somebody, he simply says somebody. Somebody who is that person, he doesn't say. But since I have traced it, since I have a book, I found out, I have got this commentary, 2 commentaries I have. So since I have traced them, it is of Anandagiri. What does he say? Anadi Ananta. How does he say Anadi? Purva buddhi adhyasat samskaradi adhyasaha tatastadrug uttara buddhi adhyasaha iti pravahatmana. प्रवाह्युपादान जाड्यात्मना वा अनादित्वं प्रवाहि उपादान जाड्यात्मना just a minute ಏನು ಅರ್ಥವಾಗಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರವಾಹಿ mind is followed, which in turn is followed by mind and so on, or because there is a beginningless insentient material cause which generates this. Okay, pravahi, I understood. Okay, now he explains anadi. How do you take anadi? First, let us, because other people, some common people get confused, therefore first let me explain what Swamiji or Shankara Bhashya itself told about anadi. Anadi means you find yourself adhyasa without reference to time, because the time itself is experienced in the wake of adhyasa. Therefore, there is no time before adhyasa. Okay, or in other words, adhyasa is not an event that takes place in time. This is Siddhanti. This is Shankara Bhashya and Sachidananda Swamiji's explanation is like this. Adhyasa is not an event. It doesn't begin in time because adhyasa is timeless. That means it cannot be referred, it cannot be thought of through time. Adhyasa cannot be thought of as occurring within time. It is not an event, nor it can be related to time. Time means at some point of time. Adhyasa cannot be thought of, cannot be understood as related to at one point of time, because time doesn't exist before adhyasa. Time itself is experienced due to adhyasa. Okay, time itself is experienced due to adhyasa. This is our stand, Shankaracharya and Sachidananda Swamiji, and our stand. Okay, keeping this in view, see how Anandagiri explains anadi. Anadi means beginningless. Beginningless, when we say, we took it straight away as I have explained just now. This is our explanation of anadi. Now you say how he explains. He explains anadi means it begins. They take adhyasa begins. Adhyasa occurs in time. See, they take it like that. Adhyasa is an event that occurs in time. Time existed before adhyasa. Then how do you say anadi? Okay, they explain anadi in spite of accepting adhyasa occurring in time. Okay, it is an event, it is a production. Adhyasa is a production, they take it. Once it is a production, it occurs in time. Though it is a production, it takes place in time, yet they try to explain it as anadi, beginningless. How? When it is produced, it is occurring in time. How can you explain it as anadi? They have got a very peculiar idea of anadi. Let us try to see what they say. See, those who get confused, better leave them. See, whenever we refer to Vyakhyanakara's concept, it is highly technical. More it is a hypothetical, because it is put up by logic rather than anubhava. Okay, it is put up by logic rather than anubhava. Therefore, it becomes a bit difficult for people to understand. So those who do not understand, don't bother, ignore it, because there is nothing worth understanding. But if you understand Siddhanti's idea of anadi, that's enough. Because for sadhakas, Siddhanti's idea of anadi, which is in keeping with Bhashya and Swamiji, that is enough. But those who want to see how others interpreted, just for sake of contrast, we are touching others' interpretation. It may look little complicated. So those who have patience, listen. Those who feel bored can ignore. Okay? This today's talk, you can just ignore. You can pay attention when Siddhanti replies to this replies and refutes this concept of anadi. Now you see how he says, Purva Buddhi Adhyasat Samskarat Adhyasah. They say Adhyasa is an event in time. it is an occurrence. Since it is an experience, Adhyasa comes, stays for a while and goes away. And when it goes away, Adhyasa leaves some samskar according to them, okay? According to the Vyakhyanakaras, commentators, not Swamiji, not Bhashyakara. Okay, remember this. They say Adhyasa is a production in time, and after Adhyasa is produced, it goes away on its own. Without Jnana, Adhyasa goes away. See how they talk. Adhyasa comes and Adhyasa goes away. When it goes away, Adhyasa leaves certain samskara, certain impression in the mind. That impression again reproduces next Adhyasa. That means they say each time Adhyasa is born and Adhyasa stays for some time and goes away. When Adhyasa disappears, it leaves some samskara. That samskara produces Adhyasa again. Like this, samskara, Adhyasa, Adhyasa, samskara, they happen in a chain. They explain Adhyasa, samskara in the form of a chain. This even now people accept. Those who follow the Vyakhyanakaras, even now, I studied, one of my gurus used to tell me like this. So, Purva Buddhi Adhyasat Samskara Adhyasaha. Okay, Tatastadrug Uttara Buddhi Adhyasaha. So, Samskara produces Adhyasa. Adhyasa produces next Samskara. And that Samskara produces again another Adhyasa. Like this, one produces the other. Like a chain, it goes on. Iti pravahatmana. Pravaha means like a chain. So, Adhyasa, when Shankaracharya says Adhyasa is anadi, beginningless, according to this Vyakhyanakara, Anandagiri, he means anadi in this sense. Okay? He means anadi in this sense. So, Atava, another meaning. He gives two meanings. Appa, my curse, my pens don't write. Okay. Second meaning he himself gives. Who? Anandagiri. One is Adhyasa produces samskara. Adhyasa by disappearing, it produces samskara, leaves samskara. Samskara again reproduces Adhyasa. Adhyasa samskara, Adhyasa samskara. Like this, there is a sequence. In this sense, then anadi means what? Anadi not by nature, beginningless not by nature, the whole set of chain is beginningless. They will take it like that. Each Adhyasa begins, no doubt. Each Adhyasa begins, but Adhyasa produces samskara, samskara produces Adhyasa. Like this, there is a chain. That chain the chain is anadi. They take it this way. Or another meaning is Pravahi upadana jadyatmanava anaditvam Mula Vidya produces Adhyasa. Adhyasa is no doubt production. Beginning, it has a beginning because it is born. Adhyasa is born according to them. But Adhyasa is produced by a material cause called Mula Vidya or Maya. They call Mula Vidya or Maya is a material substance, a vague material positive substance that produces Adhyasa, and that Mula Vidya is beginningless. Therefore, Adhyasa is beginningless. This is a that means it is not really beginningless. They have to stretch it, and in some secondary sense, they have to accept it as a beginningless. His interpretation openly says it has got a beginning. See, Adhyasa has a beginning, is openly admitting. But since Bhashyakara says anadi, they have to interpret it. And in the interpretation, Adhyasa beginning has a beginning is not changed. They are admitting Adhyasa has a beginning, yet trying to interpret beginningless in a more secondary sense. in a more secondary sense alone, it is very clear, it is obvious that Anandagiri is not doing justice to Bhashyakara. She is taking Anaditvam of Bhashyakara more of a secondary sense. Okay. Now, iti Anaditvam. Okay. This is how interpreted Anadi. Now, the next adjective is Naisargika. How? See, once we take Anandagiri, we take all the three interpretations immediately and then go to the next. Okay. Now, next, how it is wrong, this we have told, and again we will tell at the end of it. Then second is Naisargika. What is Naisargika? Let us see what is Naisargika according to Bhashyakara. Naisargika means avichara swabhava. Naisargika means you find, because you find it in your avichara sthiti. Avichara means we don't inquire. Naisargika means instinctive, or in other words, what taken for granted. Naisargika means just taken for granted. Your mind accepts that it is there. That means it is not inquiring it. It is not investigating. It is not observing. It just takes for granted. That is Naisargika. This is actually Bhashyakara's interpretation is avichara swabhava is Naisargika. Okay. But these people say, Anandagiri says, Naisargika in a different sense. How Naisargika? Upadanasya, correct. Upadanasya maya shaktitaya jadasya chaitanya sattvanu bandhitvat adhishtana dibhadyatvam siddhavat krutya Naisargika ityuktam. Upadanasya maya shaktitaya jadasya chaitanya sattvanu bandhitvat. Abba, this is all highly complicated. That's how they interpret. That's why some place it's a complicated. I skipped it. One point I skipped, I remember. I'll explain again. Because these are necessary complicated ideas. That means they are hypotheses, logically put up. So it becomes difficult for people to understand. See how he says. Upadan, Maya Shakti or Mula Vidya is Upadana Karanam, material cause, according to them. Okay, so this material cause, Maya Shakti, is a Jada. Maya is a power. It is a quality, it is a power, it is a material substance having a power. Two powers it has got. Okay, that you leave it. It is a material substance. Chaitanya Sattvanu Bandhitvat. It is a jada. Material means it is a material. It is an insentient. Maya is an insentient substance. It is Naisargika because it is naturally sticking to Brahman. See how Naisargika they interpret. Naisargika means natural. A insentient material substance is naturally sticking to Brahman. It looks like that. It looks that they are coming closer to Sankhya. Sankhyas also say Prakriti, that Maya, Trigunatmika Prakriti is there naturally. Okay. It is there naturally along with Chaitanyam. Along with Chaitanyam it has been there. Anadi. So this Anadi, Prakriti is Anadi, Paramatma is Anadi. This is what Sankhyas accept. Atma is Anadi and Prakriti is Anadi. Sankhyas accept. So these Vyakhyanakaras seem to be coming closer to Sankhya's with little modification. That means it seems that they have adopted Sankhya's Prakriti with little modification. They say, Sankhya's say Prakriti is Anadi, but it is always there with, it is a Jada, but always there with Brahman, always there with Chaitanya Atma. So Vyakhyanakara Anandagiri also says, yes, it is always there sticking to Chaitanya Atma. Ayyo, then you are becoming equal. You are an Advaitin. Then Vyakhyanakaras are Advaitins. They are supposed to talk like Upanishads. So why are they borrowing Sankhya's? They say, no, we have modified it. We are not bodily accepting Sankhya's as it is. We just slightly modify. What is that modification? Sankhya's accept Prakriti is Anadi. That means it is an insentient material substance sticking to Mula Vidya, sticking to Brahman, but we say it will go by Jnanam. It can be destroyed by Jnanam. Sankhya's don't say that. Sankhya says that Prakriti Purusha Sambandha is separated. That's all. Prakriti is not destroyed. According to Sankhya's, Prakriti's connection, Prakriti is insentient material, Arma. Prakriti is insentient material. Its connection with Atma is beginningless. But on Jnanam, what happens? Prakriti is separated, Atma is separated. That's all. Only its separation is known, and Prakriti lives on its own. Atma gets separated from it. That's enough. Okay, this is what Sankhyans say. But Vyakhyanakaras, Mula Vidyavadins seem to be very close to Sankhya's, but some modification, with some correction. They have corrected Sankhya's. What have they corrected? It is no doubt sticking to Brahman. In Naisargika, they are just similar to Sankhya. But it is destroyed by Jnanam. This much is an additional of Vyakhyanakaras, Mula Vidyavadins. They call it Mula Vidya, but it goes by Jnanam. Sankhya say it cannot be destroyed. It gets disconnected with Atma. That's all. It gets disconnected with Atma. Prakriti lives on its own. Purusha lives separately. The connection gets broken. But that's all. But Prakriti itself cannot be destroyed according to Sankhya's. But according to Mula Vidyavadins, the Prakriti is sticking to Atma from the beginningless time. Instinctively, it is there with Atma, sticking to Atma. But Vedantins, Bhashyakara didn't accept that. It is there beginningless with Atma. It is Adhyasta, he told Bhashya Swamiji. Bhashyakara told, Sachidananda Swamiji told, and we all accept. Prakriti is Adhyasta upon the Atma. Once it is Adhyasta, by Jnana, it can be understood as non-existent. But they say Mula Vidya is not Adhyasta, like Sankhya. Sankhya say Prakriti is not Adhyasta. They also say it is not Adhyasta, yar Mula Vidyavadins. So Prakriti is not Adhyasta. And Mula Vidyavadins say this, just like Sankhya's, Prakriti is not Adhyasta. But one difference is, in Sankhya's, according to Sankhya, Prakriti gets separated from Atma by Jnanam. By Jnanam, Prakriti gets separated and lives. And Prakriti lives and this. But according to Mula Vidyavadins, Prakriti, though it is beginningless time, though it is continuously sticking to Atma, it can be destroyed by Jnanam. Now, okay, then what does Bhashyakara say? Bhashyakara says that it is destroyed by Jnanam, but it is not sticking to Atma, it is Adhyasta. Since it is Adhyasta, it can be removed by Jnanam. What is Adhyasta can be understood as non-existent to the Atma. It doesn't exist in the Atman because it is Adhyasta. It doesn't exist in the Atma, or it doesn't exist anywhere, in fact. It doesn't exist at all unless it is imposed. It is due to misunderstanding alone. Prakriti is thought of to be there. And therefore, once you wake up, once you realize, once you come to intuit Atman, then Prakriti ceases to be there because it is Adhyasta. In misunderstanding alone, Prakriti is there. In right understanding, Prakriti is not there. Prakriti goes away by Jnanam is correct. Okay, there are three. Sankhya say Prakriti is real and sticking to the Atma. Prakriti is real. It sticks to the Atma. By jnanam it is separated, but it remains. Separately it exists, along parallel to Atma. Okay, this is Sankhya's. Prakriti is beginningless, Anadi it is sticking to Atma. By jnanam it gets separated, but lives parallel to Atma. The separation, the connection is broken, but existence, parallel reality is there, it parallelly exists. This is Sankhya's. Mula Vidyavadins say, similar to Sankhya's, it is with Atma beginningless time. It is sticking to Atma from beginningless time, but it can be destroyed by Jnanam. Okay. So Bhashyakara Prakriya, Sachidananda Swamiji, who follows Bhashya, objects this Mula Vidyavadins Prakriti on two counts. One is, it is sticking to Atma is wrong. It is Adhyasta, not simply sticking to Atma. Prakriti Anadhyasta is not acceptable because there is nothing other than Brahman. If Brahman alone is to be non-dual, then everything else has to be Adhyasta. Then only Brahman can be non-dual. Brahman can be non-dual only if Prakriti is Adhyasta. If Prakriti is not Adhyasta, then Brahman's non-duality cannot be maintained. But they say, even though it is not Adhyasta, it can be destroyed by Jnanam. They say. This is okay. One point, good point is that it can be destroyed by Jnanam. They accept that it is destroyed by Jnanam, but the fact is, what is not Adhyasta cannot be destroyed by Jnanam. This is objection of Bhashyakara's followers. Sachidananda Swamiji and others, we all say, what is not Adhyasta cannot be destroyed by Jnanam. In fact, the Jnanam can only correct it. Jnanam can only correct the misunderstanding. Jnanam cannot destroy a substance. Okay. Jnanam cannot destroy something, just because it is, they say it is inert. Two things they say. It is insentient, and it is sticking to Atma, and it is dependent upon Atma. Three things they say. It is insentient, and it is dependent upon Atma. Therefore, it can be destroyed by Jnanam. See, as long as it is not Adhyasta, it is simply dependent upon Atma. For simply depending upon Atma, it can't be destroyed. First thing is, the nature of Jnanam is not to destroy. Jnanam is not a karma. Karma can destroy something. Karma can create something. Jnanam neither creates something nor destroys something. Jnanam only points out the fact. When in the wake of knowing the fact, if there is a misunderstanding, it gets corrected. So Jnanam is only illuminator, not a fire. Like a fire, it burns. Jnanam is not fire. Jnanam is light. Okay? Is Jnanam light or fire? Karma is fire. Karma can create something, can destroy something, like fire. Karma is comparable to fire. Fire can destroy. Karma can create and destroy. But Jnanam is like light. Jnanam is like Prakasha. Prakasha, a light can neither create something nor can destroy something. Prakasha can simply illumine. Okay. Therefore, Jnanam, when it illumines, it points out the Atma. It shows the Atma as Advitiya Atma. That means light shows Atma as an Atma without Adhyasa. Adhyasa is only a misunderstanding. Therefore, the misunderstanding is not removed. Misunderstanding is understood as non-existence in the wake of light, in the wake of knowledge, in the wake of knowledge. And just as when the sun arises, sun arises, darkness is not there. That's all. Because darkness is not a substance. Darkness is only an absence of light. Okay. Darkness is only an absence of light. As the sunlight comes, there is no darkness. That's all. There is no question of destroying darkness, because darkness is not a substance that can be destroyed. And even misunderstanding or Adhyasa is also only a pratyaya. Adhyasa is only a pratyaya. Pratyaya is a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding gets corrected in the light of knowledge. This is straight and simple. Therefore, Jnanam cannot destroy what is not Adhyasta. Mula Vidya Vadins accept Prakriti is Brahmadina. It is Adhina, it is subordinate to Atma. It is subordinate to Atma, can be destroyed by Jnanam. How? Because we have accepted that it can be destroyed by Jnanam. How can you accept how can you just wish that it will be destroyed by Jnanam unless the very nature of it is such? See, the nature has to be like that. Then only we can accept it. But the nature is positive substance, sticking to Atma, depending upon Atma. And they say we have accepted that it can be destroyed. See, this cannot be. By your wishing, you can't destroy it. Therefore, the Sankhyas are better in this sense. Sankhyas accepted Prakriti as insentient and sticking to Atma. Therefore, by Jnanam, what happens? Its sticking goes away. Prakriti's sticking to Atma goes away. That means it doesn't stick, it gets separated. But it's destroyed by Jnanam, they have not accepted. Because how can what is simply sticking to Atma can be destroyed? They have understood this much. All people except Mula Vidyavadins have accepted anything can be destroyed. Anything can be destroyed only if it is Adhyasta. Anything can be destroyed by Jnanam only if it is a misunderstanding. All schools, whether Nayayika, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Puramimamsa, Bauddha, Jaina, everybody, whether Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, everybody has accepted what? A thing can be corrected, a thing can go away by Jnanam only if it is a misunderstanding. What is a substantially existing? Even if it is Adhina, even if it is subordinate to Atma, dependent upon Atma, it cannot be destroyed by Jnanam unless it is a misunderstanding. Okay, only Mula Vidyavadins are the only people who have accepted that something substantial, just because it is dependent upon Atma, it is subordinate to Atma, it can be destroyed even though it is not Adhyasta. See, even though it is not a misunderstanding, even though it is not superimposed, yet it can be destroyed by Jnanam. This is against the very nature of knowledge, against the nature of avidya. The very nature of avidya is wrong, and the nature of Jnanam is also wrong, yet they say that we have accepted. See, you can't make your philosophy against the very nature of the things. Against the nature of the things, if you build up your own idea, your own concept, that becomes a wish alone. It becomes only a hypothesis. Okay. It seems they have borrowed Sankhya's Prakriti, but only one thing added, that it can be destroyed. Because Sankhyas also call Prakriti as not Adhyasta. They don't accept Prakriti as Adhyasta. It is a material substance sticking to Atma. Okay. And it will go by Jnana. So here, but Mula Vidyavadins is slightly modified. It is dependent, it is an insentient common to both. That Prakriti is insentient substance is common to Mula Vidyavadis and also Sankhya. It is sticking to Atma is common to both. It is insentient common to Sankhya, common to Mula Vidyavadi. What is common? Prakriti is insentient. Prakriti is a substance, material substance, that it is a insentient. In these 2 points there is common. It is sticking to Atma is common. 3 points are common to Sankhya and Mula Vidyavadis. 4th is that it is Atma Adhina. It is subordinate to Atma. This is extra Mula Vidyavadins added. It is subordinate to Atma. In this point, Sankhyans differ. That it is insentient is common to Sankhya and Mula Vidyavadis. It is sticking to Atma, yes, it is common to Mula Vidyavadi and Sankhya. And it is a insentient sticking to Atma is common. And it is substantial. It is a material. It is a material substance. Is common to both. But extra, what is extra of the Mula Vidyavadins is it is dependent upon Atma, it is subordinate to Atma. Sankyans say it is not subordinate to Atma, it is parallelly existing. It is equal to Atma. This is one point Mula Vidyavadins have changed, differ from them. And it can be destroyed by Jnanam. This is the extra point of Mula Vidyavadins. For Sankyans, it is not destroyed by Jnanam. By Jnanam, its connection with Atma is separated. It lives separately, Atma lives separately. So in these things, Mula Vidyavadins say it is destroyed by Jnanam. But there is one more difference. Sankyans say it with Jnanam, it is disconnected with Atma. It was connected to Atma. By Jnanam, it's disconnected with Atma but lives independently. Mula Vidyavadins say when it is disconnected by Jnanam, what happens? Only that part which is connected to this Atma, this Jiva alone is disconnected. But the whole avidya is not disconnected. Only some part of Atma which is connected to his Atma alone goes away. But what is connected to all Jiva, what is connected to Ishvara is continued. It becomes more complicated, so I don't want to touch it. We'll leave them because those who are not familiar with it may get confused. So I leave them at this thing. They say, this much is enough. With Jnanam, it gets disconnected. Sankyas, they say, these people say it is destroyed. But you can say it is not completely destroyed according to Mula Vidyavadins. They say that only some part, the part which is connected to Jiva alone is destroyed, but other aspect continues, they say. This is little complicated. And there, again in that thing, there are again many views among the Mula Vidyavadins. Not one view. There are again more than one view. So it becomes complicated. We leave it. We'll discuss it later, some other time. When it comes, some other time. In Siddhanta Lesha Sangraha you find, or even the Vyakhyanas, Bhamati says one way, Vivarana says another way, somebody says some other way. There again differences of opinion. We leave them. Okay. For our point, only this much, that we accept it is an Adhyasa, they don't say it is an Adhyasa. That's all. Then, okay. Jadasya Chaitanya Sattvānubandhitvat Adhishthanadi Badhyatvam Siddhavat-kritya Naisargika Ityuktam. So Naisargika, natural or instinctive. This Naisargika, natural, instinctive, how do they interpret? This way. But how do Bhashyakara, Sachidananda Swamiji and we follow, we interpret, we say that Naisargika means it is Adhyasta, no doubt, but during Adhyasa Kala, you feel that it is there instinctively. That means it is avichara. Until you do vichara, Adhyasa is found to be there. Adhyasta Prakriti, Adhyasa is found to be there. For them, avidya means something other than Adhyasa. Other than Adhyasa, Prakriti is avidya for them. For us, Adhyasa is avidya, and that Adhyasa means a misunderstanding is avidya, and misunderstanding is Naisargika because it is avichara. In fact, Adhyasa is not there. You think it is there. That's all. You think it doesn't exist. You start thinking. You start observing. It doesn't exist. Though it doesn't exist, you think that it is there. Therefore, it appears to be there as it were. It appears to be there as it were because it appears to, it goes on because as long as you don't think about it, as long as you don't investigate about it, you start becoming alert and investigative, it's not there. So, in that non-thinking alone, it seems to be present. Naisargika means I seem to be there as a jiva. I seem to be jiva because as long as I don't think I am jiva. You start thinking you are not jiva. Oh, how is that? Because you are not really jiva. There is only a wrong thought, you have assumed wrong thought, and that thought seems to be continuing as long as you don't question it. You question it, it doesn't exist. So therefore, Adhyasa is a misunderstanding or a false assumption it is. A false assumption is Adhyasa. Misunderstanding or a false assumption, you start questioning it, it's not there because it's a false. So we explain Naisargika in this sense. They say Naisargika more like a Sankhya, but at the end they have slightly modified Sankhya is Mula Vidyavadins. Okay, slightly modified Sankhya, slightly improved Sankhya, but we can't call them as clearly Vedantins like Shankara Bhashya. Okay, Naisargika. Third point is Mithya. Oh, I think time is not enough. We have to discuss it. I thought I'll finish all these things in one class. Anyway, my habit of repeating, because there I have to address. See, you when you listen individually. You only look for your understanding. If you understand, it is enough for you. But for me, I have to explain to all this much of audience. So I have to keep the dullest student, a commonest student I have to keep in view. Therefore, I have to explain, re-explain, repeat it, give with more example, another example until they understand. So if you understand in one stroke, just you be relaxed, leave it. Leave me to repeat it until the other people understand it. So those who are intelligent, just be relaxed and leave it. Don't get bored because already understood, why is he repeating, you may feel. I have to repeat because I have to keep many listeners in view. But for you, you are a one listener. But for me, I have many listeners. I have to keep them in view. Therefore, I have to explain. So those who have understood in first explanation, just be relaxed and ignore it. Okay. So here, now we have explained what is Anadi according to Anandagiri. And then our contrast with it. Because immediately I have to show the contrast, then only, otherwise you get confused. Immediately I have shown how we explain Anadi. It is timeless. They say it is a pravaha, it is a chain, therefore Anadi. But it's not right. Second, Naisargika. Naisargika, they have improved Sankhya, little bit improved from the Sankhya standpoint. Therefore it is sticking to Atma, but by Jnanam it gets destroyed. But we say it's not destroyed by, it is Adhyasta. Adhyasta means a false assumption. As long as you don't question it, don't investigate it, that wrong assumption seems to be continuing. The wrong assumption is there until you question it. A false assumption is there until you question it. You investigate, it is not there. That's all. So in this sense, it is Naisargika. Naisargika is unquestioned false assumption. Okay? Naisargika means unquestioned false assumption. Unquestioned false assumption. Assumption itself means false. What is there? Just for sake of clarity, it is a repetition. Assumption means false only. Unquestioned false assumption is Naisargika. For them, Naisargika means, how they make it complicated. Okay. So, next is Mithya. 3 adjectives we were talking about, how he interprets Mithya. Let us see. So, I think time is up, but anyway, I'll just explain this and leave it. Ayyo, he is going very complicated, appa. It takes long time. I think 4 or 5 sentences, because these are all speculations. Therefore, it looks complicated. Third point is Naisargika ityuktamite naisargikatvam cha upapadya mithyadi hetutvena tadatmyamaha mithya iti. Then mithya pratyaya rupaha. Mithya pratyaya rupaha. It's a boring for me. To explain their concept is how they stretch it, go unnecessary. Straight Mithya pratyaya is a wrong assumption, a wrong thinking, that's all. A wrong knowledge, a misunderstanding, a false assumption, that's all. A wrong assumption. That is a Mithya pratyaya simply means this. How they twist that. Mithya pratyaya, everything they go, oh my God, Mithya pratyaya rupaha. It is highly complicated. I think time is up. We will discuss in the next class. Have patience, or if you better note down if you get confused. Either if you note down, you don't get confused. At least the ideas. Those who hold the book, then you can better that you can hold the book. If you don't know the Sanskrit, don't know Sanskrit and don't use the book, at least note down this basic idea. And then you can compare when I repeat it so you don't get confused. Otherwise, you may forget it and get confused. What do they say? And what does our Bhashyakara says? Bhashyakara's prakriya, Mula Vidyavadin's prakriya. Contrast. Just to note down briefly so you don't get confused. Okay. So, Mithya Pratyaya Rupa. How do they interpret Mithya? It is much more complicated. The simple straight explanation, they go round and make it a big circus. That we'll see in the next class, because I have no patience for circus. In fact, I studied all these things. Even I was also teaching Mula Vidya, Prakriya. This Prakriya, all this Pravahanadi, all this Anadi I was teaching before. So now I get bored. I used to feel bored. Because what is against experience, what is put up by your imagination, you put up a concept, a hypothesis, it doesn't exist in your anubhava, it is highly complicated, and it is against Bhashya, it looks so boring. But anyway, we have to have a patiently listen. We'll explain in the next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om Tatsat.